Hour Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Doug, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. We'll get to Rex Hoggard live from Quail Hollow later in the hour. Our best bets, Pierre LeBrun coming up. I was sitting up there with Pierre last night. Quite the experience up on press row. Quite the experience being in the building in general.
Must have been a lot of eyebrows floating up.
Yeah, there was a lot of I can't believe what I'm witnessing. And we're showing a picture right now. This is Jonas snapped that. I think that was after the 4-0 goal.
That's the look of disgust.
I was like, I can't believe what's going on. I was excited for the game last night. Like, without knowing who's going to win. Yeah, I was jacked to be down there. Like, I really felt lucky. Like, one of those moments, you take it for granted. We're all lucky. Like, you guys played in the league. You have a completely different experience on what the NHL represents. But you know, I'm driving down there. I'm walking in the building. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, Game 5, there's 8 teams left. Amazing. Like, let's go. It's mid-May. We're still talking Leafs. We're watching the Leaf game. Let's see what they got. And for it to play out the way it played out was just wild. Like, there's no other way to describe it. It was just a wild, wild viewing experience. And now they head down to Florida, and we got 55 minutes to try to meet your marker, right? Hit your mark. He said by 6:55, there's got to be a little bit of a positive spin on the opportunity for them.
Some kind of like, hey, let's go get it tomorrow in Florida, instead of like we've chewed on it and it's like not good. You just detailed being there how ugly it was. Mm-hmm. But you know what? There's a game tomorrow, and you can take it back to Toronto. Teams have come back. Like Ottawa stole a couple off Toronto. Why can't Toronto steal one?
Yes.
Just one to stay alive.
The stats are there. I mean, we referenced them yesterday. I think it's like 23% of the time. So about 1 in 4. The home team that loses Game 5 still comes back to end up winning the series. You know, it's you're in one now. And Florida's a great team. Listen, before the series started, Florida was the favorite. Florida's a great, great team. And it's not, you know, Year 9, it is about wins and losses. There's no moral victories. There's no lessons to be learned. That ship sailed a long time ago. You have to win. Like, if you're a fan, you're waiting for this team to actually win. But it does mean something how you lose. Like, if last night was just a great battle and you lose 3-2 in overtime and Bob stands on his head, you're like, all right, let's see what you got Game 6. But it was the polar opposite of that.
That's, I think, what is eating at a lot of people. It's just the way of the lot. Like, if that was a close game, then you're like, hey, it came out on the short side, hard fought. Like, let's same formula, let's go at it, and maybe come out on the winning end the next game. But it wasn't. But I will say this. I had somebody say this to me today. It's like, this team is a Jekyll and Hyde team. Just when you expect there's like, okay, that's it, or that, you know, they do something different. And it's not because I you know, when everyone says, they're different this year, I'm not talking about they're different this year. I'm saying they do something different. We expect something, and the complete opposite happens. So that's, you know, I was going to wait more till the 6:30.
No, you got it. I think you're hit. Listen, I will give you a couple of examples which again did not end in the way that they wanted to,
right?
And did not necessarily have a watershed moment like the one we saw last night. Like that loss was so substantial. Right. But if you can recall, in 2013, they were down 3-1 in that series and a massive underdog to Boston, and they pushed it to 7. In 2019, I believe, maybe 2018. I think 2018, they were down 3-1 in that series. Big underdog to Boston. One of those 2 years, they pushed it to 7. Last year,
now we're pumping our own tires for pushing it to 7.
No, I know.
That's where we're at. That's what we got.
But that's all you can do is like try to get it to 7. Get it to 7.
Well,
the point I'm making is when we left the building or did the shows and they were down 3-1 in years past, you're like, this is over. They're done, and they miraculously put together a couple of games and pushed it to 7. You know, I think the most likely outcome is Joseph Woll has the game of his life tomorrow.
Right.
And I don't know how likely that is after last night, the way he's played, and he was great in Game 4. Other than that, he's just been okay at best. But that's the most likely outcome. Guy just stands on his head. They find a way to win 1-0 or 2-1, or you know, a couple bounces go their way.
Right.
But I guess we'll see. We'll see, right, Noodles? That's all you can do.
Well, here's
wait
and
see what happens tomorrow night.
The other thing too is, guys, is I always look at, and I know we were critical, and we rightfully so, but I was looking at their media last night, and, Willie Nylander, I don't know if that's good or bad, the way he handled it. He's like, listen, it's one game, 6-1, 1-0. He goes, we lost. We got to go down to Florida and win. Like, that has to be the mindset. It's like, amnesia. I don't care what I did last night. It's what I do tomorrow. That's a 6:30 comment. We'll get to that later.
Well, let's see if it's a 6:05 comment with our next guest. Here's our TSN hockey insider, Pierre LeBrun. Pierre, you were lurking around the rooms last night. Do you see William Nylander's attitude as hey, it's only one game and we move on? Is that a positive or is that a negative in your opinion?
I think in his first 6, I'll give him a break because that guy shows up. I mean, I just think he's a different cat, and I wouldn't read too much into it myself. I know there's disagreement on that today, but I don't. He's not a guy that I mean, listen, do you want him to score on that breakaway in the first period? That could have changed the game, right? But it's not like he didn't try. So
yeah,
he's not on my top 3-4 of guys that I'm pretty disappointed with after last night. And let me just start. I mean, you were there, Brian. Like, I've seen a lot of games in that building since it opened, and that was up there for how surreal and just unbelievable, really, it was. Like, I made this point post-game. I'm sure you guys have made it today. Craig Berube has been such a steady voice all year since he's come into this market. Like, he's handled being a coach of the Leafs in his first year as well, I think, since Pat Quinn, quite frankly. And last night, he sounded shocked in his voice and his body language. Like, I don't know that he knew what to say after the game. That's the first time all year I've seen that on him. Like, he doesn't carry the baggage, right, that this team has. And I think that deep down he's like, these guys are over this. And then last night happened. I think he was stunned.
Pierre, how can we keep coming back to these massive moments? And everyone was detailing last night's event as this potentially legacy game. Why is it that the performance of the best players always seems to be the same in those moments where they just... I mean, there's no other way of describing Auston Matthews and Mitch Marner as the Leafs' worst players last night, because they were.
Yeah.
So why is that always the case? Like, it's one thing to get a series to 7, but when it's really crunch time, they have that performance. And I detailed it's either they choke and they can't take it, or they don't care enough to perform. And I'd like to think that they do care enough, so it's got to be the first.
Yeah, it's hard to, honestly, it's hard for me to put my finger on. I haven't, I haven't been in that situation like you have, but I can tell you what I've learned from guys who have won, from talking to them in detail and from trying to get inside their brain. And there is certainly, I don't want to call it a trend, but there's a line you can draw from one cup champion to another. The guys that always seem to show up in the big moments, and this is going to sound so cliche, but that they want it so bad, they'd pretty much be willing to do anything to get it. Like, I mean, almost anything. And those are the guys that keep showing up every year and go deep in the playoffs and perform and have big numbers. Like, look at the playoff numbers over the last 5 years for McDavid and Draisaitl, for Mikko Rantanen. It's always the same guys showing up. Look at the core of that Florida team. I know Leaf fans hate this team right now. They hate them. I can tell, because my job on this series for The Athletic is to write about the Panthers. I've got a bullseye on my forehead, but look at the contrast in the two teams showing up to the most important game of the year last night. Look at Bennett and Tkachuk and Ekblad and Barkov, especially. Look at what they did last night. That felt comfortable to them right from puck drop. It was like, all right, we know this, let's go. That's how they looked. They looked like they knew what they were doing. So, I'm not giving you a perfect answer, but the guys that win share a lot of same characteristics at this time of year.
Well, they look laser focused, that's for sure. And I'm curious where Marner comes into play, because our mutual friend and colleague, Chris Johnston, had an interesting article in The Athletic today. I'm going to read one paragraph here. Quote, There's been a growing sense that the 28-year-old winger wants a fresh start after enduring an avalanche of criticism for his team's repeated playoff shortcomings. That's about to be released again here with serious force after Marner and line mate Auston Matthews have been completely shut down in the offensive zone by the Stanley Cup champs in the second round. That would suggest that Marner has possibly already made up his mind. If that's the case, then how could we be surprised that he's playing like this? Like if there's just no, like if you already made up your mind that this isn't your team anymore, if that's the case, I mean,
right,
that would explain a lot.
Yeah, and listen, I don't know that to be accurate for sure. I think what Chris was sharing is what I've also heard from other people around the league, that that's the expectation other people have about Marner, and then some of it is embedded in what other teams are hoping happens with Marner because they want to get their hands on him. So I don't know that Marner's camp, I know for sure Marner's camp has not relayed this to anyone directly in terms of us. So I think we're trying to read between the tea leaves here. But if you ask me now, yeah, I think it's more likely than not than he may want to leave. But I don't know that decision has been made yet, 100%. I really don't. I think that it was always going to be determined, I think, after the playoffs and how the playoffs went. But let me reverse the question. I mean, we've been asking all year whether or not Marner wanted to stay. I mean, after last night, it's a question that's more pertinent now, whether or not the Leafs should even be making an offer.
Absolutely not. But the question is, Pierre, doesn't that performance and what he does in games 5 to 7 make another team maybe a little bit weary before they want to hand over? Did they not look at that, or they just say, we want Mitch Marner?
Oh, the level of desperation that some teams have to make a splash this summer with the cap going up and to get something like, I think it'd be easier to list the teams that probably won't check in on Marner before July 1st than the teams that will. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable how many teams I've heard, oh yeah, we're probably going to make an offer. We're probably going to make an offer. Look at the UFA list. Who would you have ahead of Marner?
Well, not fun.
Listen, the biggest thing, you're right, Pierre, because there's teams that are at different stages, right? Like that's the other thing. They, a mandate from an owner going make a big splash, but playoffs are the mandate, and maybe Marner's a guy that could help you in the regular season, get you into that playoff situation. Like that's the difference, right, Pierre? That creates the buzz on a lot of teams where there is a marketplace for him because he's a great player and he has regular season success. I know we're talking about a negative game last night and all that, but I think there's a lot of teams that would throw a whack of cash at him to make a splash to try and get their team to the next level.
I listen, you guys can disagree with me, Noodles. I'm telling you, last night's performance did not affect him financially 1 cent because that's the level of desperation with July 1st market. Like, let's be real. Are you kidding me? I mean, teams are going to come hard at him regardless for a lot of the reasons you just said, Noodles, that it's a marquee name and just getting into the playoffs is big. I mean, listen, how is Detroit not going to make an offer? They're 9 years out and they're frustrated. There's pressure on Steve Yzerman to add a marquee name. How is Chicago not picking up the phone? LA just changed GMs. Ken Holland, he's not scared to do stuff. I mean, Montreal Canadiens have cap room now. I think they're focused on getting a center, but I'm just saying the list is endless.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And what happened last night would not deviate at all from teams looking at Mitch Marner as a great player. It's just that he's wearing it here because it's deserved. I mean, he's had a lot of poor playoff performances in the biggest of games. And here's what's interesting to me. It wouldn't shock me if Marner does leave, that he does, this would drive Leaf fans insane, of course, but that he does get over the hump somewhere else at playoff time with another team, perhaps not in the glare of his hometown. And the reason I mention that is Mitch Marner played the biggest game of his career at Four Nations in Boston. And I thought he was one of the top 3 or 4 best players on the ice that night in the championship game. So why is that? Why was he comfortable suddenly in that setting in that moment? Well, I mean, obviously playing with McDavid is fun, but he's playing with Matthews, so that's not a good answer. I don't know what the answer is, but he was sure good that night in Boston.
Yeah, and, there's the Phil Kessel example where Rutherford in the pen, so we just got to get him out of there, and as long as he's not the man, he can play great. And I guess that'll be the question, and this is, you're putting the cart before the horse because they still play tomorrow night.
Right.
But that is there was never any dispute he was going to get paid a fortune. But there's a big difference between getting paid a fortune from Chicago, the worst team in the league, and getting paid a fortune from Florida, a winning program. That's like that is what I'm curious about. Like, does a winning program look at him and say, we get him out of Toronto, we can make this work? Like, because that might be the theory, is that it's just local guy, 9 years, it's snowballed out of control. And there might be truth to that, that it's snowballed completely out of control 9 years later. That it's too much, it's too daunting, there's too much focus, it's too crazy. I don't know. And if that happens and he moves on and everything works out for him, good for him. That would be amazing.
Well, and I'm sure that if we had Mitch on with us and he was forced to tell us the whole truth, I mean, if he were to leave, if still may not, if he were to leave, I'm sure both Florida teams would be on his list, probably Dallas. Speaking to your winning programs, the problem with the winning programs, they spend a lot of their cap.
Yeah.
I mean, Dallas essentially spent their summer cap on Mikko Rantanen, so they've already done their July 1st shopping. But even Florida, now Florida may lose Sam Bennett. They've not been able to extend him, so they may have some room to do something. But a lot of the places where probably a guy like Marner wants to go are places that won't be able to offer him as much as some of the other teams. So that's a decision they'll have to make as well if he goes to Markham.
Yeah. That'll be the question. And then beyond him, there's so much more that could happen. And we'll get into that, when that becomes a reality, when the Leafs still play tomorrow night. So we'll talk about anything else that could take place. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, the free agent crop, it's Marner, it's possibly Bennett. I'd have to look at it.
Well, it's Bennett. It's also Ekblad. Like, you're sitting there. Yep. Again, these are conversations for another time, but I'm like,
I know where you're going, Noodle.
I'm telling you, like these two players. You add those two players into, the team that we're talking about every day. They look different. Like that Ekblad play. Oh, you talked about him last hour. He plays for keeps, man, and he can run a power play. He can do all sorts. He's 6'5". He's a horse. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's got edge.
Jamie, he's 6'5" every day.
And I don't know where it's going to end up with Ekblad, but I will tell you this. This was in my column last night in The Athletic, but it's the one Leaf fans didn't want to read. But when the Panthers were down 2-0 last Wednesday night, it was only 8 days ago, by the way, 2-0 Leafs, I chatted with Ekblad after the game, guys, and he looked at me straight in the eye, and I wasn't cocky at all. And he said, they won 2 home games. Now we're going home. So what? And he walked away. And I remember thinking, no, he believes that. Like, that's not a clip or a headline for him. That's like, are you kidding me? And they won 3 since. I mean, I'm just saying, like, if he doesn't resign in Florida and he goes somewhere else, he's one of those championship guys that brings that swagger with him, right? I mean, there's a lot of teams that would benefit from Aaron Ekblad that way if he doesn't stay put. Yeah. But you know what, guys? I'm going to tell you this right now. Who's to say there won't be a Game 7 Sunday at Scotiabank Arena?
Well, there could be. There could be, and we'll be back down there, right? Anything's possible tomorrow night. Now that we're into the 6 p.m. hour, it's a positive hour. That's the kind of mojo we're bringing.
Yeah. What was Hazy B's demeanor up in the press box, Pierre? Did you happen to catch note of it, or what?
Yeah, we were separated by Masters and CJ, so we weren't. Sometimes we sit together over the years, Brian and I, and it's probably better that we don't because we just work each other up during games. But I would say it was very professional.
Thank you.
Very professional. Yes.
I tried my best. I tried as hard as I could.
Professional.
Very professional up there.
I didn't say he was happy.
Yeah.
But very professional.
Well, I knew it was coming after the game. I'm like, all right, we're going to be talking about this. Let's talk about this. Let's see what comes of it. What about the two tonight trying to survive Washington and Winnipeg? Do you think there's any likelihood that either team does it, both teams do it? Where are you at with those two games tonight?
Yeah, I think Carolina closed it out. And I think the Jets win to extend it. I think the Jets are good at home and too good just to bow out in 5. I mean, listen, Connor Hellebuck's not only in the process of losing the series probably to Jake Ottinger, he might also be losing the number 1 job in the Olympics to it, which is a complete other subplot, which I'm sure he doesn't care about in the moment, but pretty fascinating. But I think the Jets are too good to end things tonight. They'll push that to another game.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
You're right. Sorry to jump in, Brian. The other thing too is I thought Vegas was going to push it to 6. You know, it's weird like this. You know, I can't get a read. I've been wrong on all of these things to go, okay, that team's going to push back. That team's going to win. Oh, they're going to have a response game. And you're going, it's bizarro world right now. Like, it's just, you know, teams have found something and then just running through it. Like, we were joking about it, Pierre, too, is McDavid was angry last night. Like, he won a series. He was chippy. I don't know if you saw his media, but it's just, you know, these guys, they're on a mission, some of them. And it'll be interesting to see what because Dallas isn't going to go away. They're a hell of a team. So, you know, their thought process to try and finish things off tonight.
Yeah, odds are we're going to get a Dallas-Edmonton repeat of the Western Conference Final. And you know what's fascinating to me about that rematch, if we get it, is that there's probably no 2 teams in the West that benefited more from simply days on the calendar going by to get here. Like, neither Dallas or Edmonton were really ready to start the playoffs, and through no one's fault. Injuries, you know, the schedule was tough at the end of the year. Both teams internally were like, oh boy, I wonder what we're going to look like in the first round. And Dallas knocks off a juggernaut in Colorado without Heiskanen, and Edmonton, of course, comes back after they looked terrible to start the series against LA, and finally, you know, starts getting bodies back and Kane and Frederick and all the pieces of the puzzle. Like what the Oilers look like right now, they haven't looked like the entire year, like for 9 months. Like, they just arrived now. Now, you know you're a good team when you can basically waste the first 6-7 months of a season and say, we'll show up in time. That's essentially what Edmonton's done. Again, because of injuries and stuff like that. But Dallas and Edmonton, 1 month ago, did not feel nearly as good about themselves as they do right now.
No, and they deserve to feel really good the way things are going, man. They got their feet up watching the game tonight, and then more than likely it's going to be Dallas, Edmonton in the next round. All right, Pierre, maybe we'll see you down there on Sunday night.
Wouldn't shock me, Brian.
No?
Okay.
You're sniffing out a Leaf win tomorrow night. Is that what you're telling us?
Well, I mean, I think it's just the most Leaf thing to do in some ways, is now that everyone's buried them and moved on to the off-season questions that they pull out in South Florida. Would not surprise me.
Yeah, and then all bets are off for Sunday night. Drag everyone back in, and let's see what we got on Game 7 Sunday night. All right, Pierre, enjoy the action tonight and tomorrow. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds good, guys. See ya.
Pierre LeBrun, our TSN Hockey Insider.
A lot of people sending messages why we're not on TV today. It's not our doing. We have no idea why this is the
JP makes that call. JP,
Yeah,
he's in Japan, personally making those decisions. It's not ours. It's JP.
At JP Richudo, if you have a complaint. But it is pretty ridiculous we're not on TV today. Like,
I think we actually literally just came up for the first time now. So
Hello,
we find all our
friends.
stuff on YouTube. Yeah,
Hello,
we got
friends.
Hello, friends. We've been here for a couple hours, but you can find all of our stuff on YouTube. You can find everything podcasted online, tsn.ca. We blast it out on social, right? Our Instagram account, TSN. Everything. All right, we're covered. You can find us anywhere you need to find us.
Well, there you go. If you can't find it on TV, go to YouTube. Is that what we're saying here?
We're up on YouTube. Every hour of every show. You can find us at the TSN YouTube
There you go.
channel.
So stop sending the tweets then.
That's
JP is smarter than you think.
There you go.
He's
JP
having
knows what he's
sushi in Japan, texting, it's on YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah,
he is running the operation from
I sent
Japan.
JP a text yesterday, and I said, we want a pick from Japan. And he completely flushed it.
Oh, you're never going to hear from JP.
No.
No,
He's gone for 2 weeks. You will not. Like, he would Craig Button us. Like, if we went to Japan and ran into him.
If he was with all his friends in Japan and we showed up, we're like, JP, let's go, like, Boston Pizza, Tokyo. He'd be like, get a life.
Yeah, he would completely blow us off.
Boys, I already sent him a text. No response on
he's
red.
Blowing Doogie off. That's wild because him and Doogie.
It was a safe travels text.
You know what? He might not have his Wi-Fi or his data on.
That's
true.
Right.
Give me a break. What is he, in a cave in Japan in the
mountains? That's a vet move if you travel to leave your phone. I used to do that. I don't have the willpower to do it anymore. I'm too weak.
You traveled and left your phone at home.
Back in the day, I'd go to Europe and be like, I'm not even bringing it. I'm gone and I'm out. Yes. I loved it. Come home to 40,000 texts and emails.
Dude, I don't believe you did that, man. I'm sorry. You're not some mountain man that just says I'm going off grid.
You are like the most connected guy.
Yes.
Like you're not off social
I am
media
now. I have
time.
real issues. I do have issues. I can't disconnect. I wish I could, but I can't. But I'm telling you, I used to. Right? We used to, when I went to Europe, like I never get to go on big trips anymore because, my kids are still young. But we did Europe a few times. No phone, man.
Well,
no phone. Who dis?
There's nothing wrong with that. And then Joe from the Bridge writing, he doesn't have an iPhone, so he's got one of these flip phone or something else.
It's not a flip phone. How about, you know what? We should all individually text him and see who he writes back. I'll write him too. And safe travels, JP. Right exactly. You send him one, I'll send him one, and we'll see what he says. All right, we're tracking JP in Tokyo. Rex Hoggard coming up from Quail Hollow. And our best bet still to come. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, best bet's coming up a little bit later in the hour. Day one of the PGA Championship continues down at Quail Hollow. Ryan Gerard in the clubhouse with the lead, 5 under. Cam Davis, 5 under. Luke Donald, there's your boy. Ryan Fox, the chip in last week at Myrtle Beach.
Who'd you say's in the lead?
Ryan Gerard.
I'm not even lying, dude. I'm addicted to watching golf. I don't know if I've ever heard that guy's name.
Not high on my list.
Rick Gerard.
Yeah. Not tracking him on the app right now. Not going to.
Is he like, he's not an am or something? He's just a guy that's just.
No, he's a I mean, Rex would know. Rex probably interviewed him after the round. I'm guessing. Here he is from NBC and the Golf Channel. Here's Rex Hoggard. Rex, can you break down Ryan Gerard's game and how he looked today for us, please?
Because we can't.
He looked amazing today on a very difficult golf course. I actually have had a chance to meet Ryan the last few weeks. Very interesting player, young player, just kind of found his way onto the tour. And I would say this is probably about as unexpected as you could anticipate on this particular golf course, because this golf course really identifies the best players. There's a reason why Rory McIlroy has won here 4 times. So it's interesting to see the leaderboard, but my guess is we still have a lot of golf to play and it'll shake itself out.
Rexy, why were the guys carving? Like, there seemed to be some hatred towards the golf course before the tournament even started. Was that just the Hunter Mahan comment, or is that the majority? Like, why was there some hate directed at Quail Hollow? I always thought Quail Hollow was held on the highest regard from the players.
I think it identifies a very specific kind of player. And when you started the week with the way we did, and I think we had 5 inches of rain in the 4 days before today's opening round. It was going to be wet. It was going to be long. And it's just a big ballpark, as I just mentioned. If you're a player like Rory McIlroy, who hits it a mile and hits it a mile in the air and has a very particular skill set when it comes to golf, then yes, you can play well here. But not everyone can do what Rory does, or Scotty Scheffler, or Xander Schauffele, or Bryson, and I can keep going down the list. So I think, I'm not quite sure if I would call it hatred, but it's certainly an acquired taste, because I think a lot of players realize that this probably isn't the course that they're going to have much success on.
What did you make of the decision not to put the hand on the golf ball today? It just seemed like there was some complaints. There was a lot of mud on. Like Paul McGinley was saying the other day, he didn't know how they were going to get those fairways playable. And today they weren't playing lift, clean, in place. What did you make of that?
I wrote a column on golfchannel.com just now, earlier today. I would say it's short-sighted. And I understand it, and it is interesting that none of the players we talked to today about it, they all didn't like it, the fact they weren't playing preferred lives, given the conditions, but none of them were surprised that the PGA of America chose to do that, because they don't do that. The last time they allowed for preferred lives was 2016 at Baltusrol, and that was only they needed to finish 36 holes on Sunday just to get out of there before Sunday. So it needs to be very extenuating circumstances for Kerry Haigh, who's their chief championships officer, to even consider it. He is an old school guy, and he believes in the history and the traditions of the game. And I think most people expected it. They didn't like it. And I will point to the idea that what you're doing is you're putting a randomness into the game that dumbs down skill sets. And I will point exactly to number 16, the par 4 today. You have Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, and Xander Schauffele playing it. The world's number 1, 2, and 3 players who are all playing well. And 2 of the best ball strikers in the game hit snap hooks from the middle of the fairway into the water. They don't do that ever. And both of them were because of mud balls. And you're taking a skill set like Scottie Scheffler, something he has perfected over the years to do better than anyone else, and you're taking him out of his hands. That doesn't seem right to me.
Rex, any Canadian that's intrigued you today?
I mean, there's a couple. Corey Connors, I was so interested. I was talking to the legendary Bob Weeks about it this morning. Just the idea that he has that type of game that I just described. I could have easily thrown him in there with Rory or Xander or Bryson or anyone else because he hits it plenty far enough and he has a decent enough short game. I went immediately back to the 2022 President's Cup. And in defense, I'm not going to pick on the Canadians here, the international. No one on the international team outside of Tom Kim played very well that week. I was shocked, though, that the Canadians did not perform because it seems to me this is the perfect kind of golf course for them. So one of 2, I would point at. I think Corey's a good pick, and I think Taylor Pendrith would be an amazing pick here, and I wouldn't be surprised by it.
Yeah, Pendrith is still in the course. He's 2 under right now. And he bombs the ball. Of all the Canadians, he hits it the furthest. He can mash drives. I'm curious, you mentioned Scheffler and his frustration and on 16 and the mud ball and all that. You look at him, he gets through all this and he's 2 under. How terrified should the rest of the field be with that?
I don't think terrified is the right word, but you only have to look 2 weeks ago in Dallas at the Byron Nelson when he won by 8. And it seems like after questioning Scottie Scheffler all season long and how we all knew the injury he suffered in the offseason had put him back. He was behind where he wanted to be, and we all know he's a creature of habit, and it took him a while. I think what he did in Dallas 2 weeks ago sent a very clear message. So I don't know if panicked would be what I would put it, but when he shoots 2 under on this golf course with clearly something less than his A or his B game, you're certainly going to pay attention.
With Rex Hoggard of NBC and the Golf Channel. Now, conversely, McIlroy didn't have himself a great day.
Well, he won the Masters.
Well, and there's been some discussion on this show about the fork in the road for Rory. The Masters, does it motivate him to run off major after major after major, or is there an element of satisfaction now that he got what he really desired? And maybe it goes the other way. And the majors, I'm not going to say they don't mean anything. Of course they do. But does it mean as much? Because he finally won, and he won the one that he wanted the most. What is your projection for McIlroy in the majors moving forward?
That topic is like gold for folks like you and I, sports radio folks, who just love to be able to dig in to this. And I see both sides of it. And it will be fascinating. It's such a small sample size. I don't have a very good answer. My knee-jerk reaction was, in the days immediately after that victory, that it could free him up. Because we know now the burden that he was carrying trying to get that Grand Slam, the career Grand Slam, win the green jacket, everything that went into it. Of course, it's going to free him up. However, everyone makes a good point that on the other side of the coin, and he actually kind of leaned into that a little bit. Early in the week, he said, I have nothing really else to prove professionally. That, to me, is fascinating. You and I, we all do the same job. There's nothing I can accomplish in my job where I could just take a deep breath and went, nope, I'm done, I'm out, I'm finished. I pulled off everything that I possibly wanted to. It's such a unique mindset. And to me, that you can do that, and then how are you going to motivate yourself? So I think it is a weird paradox that he's in right now.
Rex, apparently it's still, to me, weird, like seeing guys with live gear and live hats, and I don't know. I just find it to be bizarre that there's not one big happy universe with all the money that's available to be made playing golf. Do you have any update? Apparently, and who knows, with the Tiger Woods meeting with Trump and Trump kind of trying to direct traffic here, that's a spicy meatball by itself. But what do you think the future looks like in a couple of years, maybe a year from now? Are they going to figure this out where it's the best players playing golf against each other?
If you would have asked me this 6 months ago, my answer would be absolutely yes. And not because I think they're close to a deal, but because that just makes sense to me. Because what we are right now is not sustainable for either side. That you have two tours that are fractured, and the best players, truly the best players in the world, only get together 4 times a year. And that's not good for the PGA Tour. That's not good for LIV Golf. Now, 6 months later, if we'd have had that conversation, I would have told you it's not happening anytime soon. Because it's pretty clear, even though there's been no official announcement, that the talks between the PGA Tour and the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, I don't want to say broken down, but they're not ongoing, is probably the way I would say it. That they reached an impasse and decided that there's no way to get around this right now. And I'm not going to say that that's not going to happen. But we're still in the same situation where you're right. The average fan is looking at this, trying to figure out, how come I only get to see Bryson DeChambeau 4 times a year? How come I only get to see Brooks or John Rahm or any of the other players that went over there? But I don't see a simple solution because both sides seem pretty entrenched.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at, the leaderboard and Tyrrell Hatton's up there. John Rahm was under par today. But really it's become the Bryson DeChambeau show more than anything else. Like does that surprise you at all, Rex? That, like, for me, if I think of LIV, the first name I think of is Bryson, where originally it was Phil. I think Koepka, I think DJ in a way.
Well, the reason you don't think of the other guys, Brian, is because they don't play well enough to notice them. Like, you would never know if they won a LIV golf tournament.
Yet when Rahm went there, he was, if not the number 1 player in the world, real close to it.
You never hear his name anymore.
But you never hear his name, and you never consider him even. We did our picks yesterday, Rex, and we get goofy with these. We get 7, 8 picks deep. Neither of us even talked about John Rahm.
No.
And I make this argument all the time, and it's become a bit cliched. If you were a top 5 or a top 10 player when you left the PGA Tour to go to LIV, I truly believe you were still a top 5 or top 10 player. John Rahm didn't lose his talent just because he took a big paycheck to go play on LIV Golf. And I would make the same argument for Bryson DeChambeau or any of them. It is interesting, though, to go back to your previous question, and you brought up Bryson. Yes, he's the face of the league, which makes the next, trying to do the math here real quick, better part of 8 months so fascinating, because this is essentially a contract year for him. His deal is up at the end of this year. Given his popularity, given the fact of everything that you two just talked about he is the face of the league, imagine the renewal check that he's going to be able to command from the Public Investment Fund and LIV Golf if they want to keep him as that face. We have heard silly numbers when it comes to signing bonuses and these players. I can only imagine what that's possibly going to be. And if they don't sign him, I think it's fair to view that as maybe they are folding their chairs and going away.
That's a very good point, and something definitely worthy of tracking as we move forward. But as of now, we're focused on the PGA down at Quail Hollow. He is Rex Hoggard of NBC and the Golf Channel. Great catching up with you, Rex. Enjoy the rest of the tournament.
Appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks.
You got it, Rex Hoggard. Yeah, that's the contract year stuff. That's something different, too. With the PGA, you got to earn your card. There's no negotiation. With LIV, it's just simply how much you're going to pay me, and
crazy.
Big
bucks.
It's big money, but we're still talking about it.
Apparently, LIV Golf, I don't care. They say there's just an endless pit, which there is, of money, but they are mowing through money. No one goes and watches this. 5,000 people watch it on TV. It's just they're getting rinsed. It's. I don't know. Regardless of how much money you have, and someone's going to look at that sooner or later and say, this is insane.
Yeah, I know. We don't know where the money comes, as far as, in Russia, for example, when I played in the KHL, there would be 2,000 people in the stands, and everybody was making $1 million to $2 million.
Right.
Where's the money coming from? It's, well, I feel like I know where the money was coming from there. Mm-hmm. I don't know what LIV, it is an investment.
It's royal money. It's oil money. It's all that. And I think what has become clear, and it may change again in the future, it may take another turn, is that the hope was they would just kind of kill the PGA or damage them so badly. Right. And that just hasn't happened. The PGA has had dips and they've had ups and downs, but they still have Scheffler and Rory and a bunch of stars, and they keep creating new stars. And in America anyway, it just hasn't taken the hit that I'm sure LIV was hoping that would eventually lead to them just simply getting to the table. But we'll see. Taylor Pendrith again, lone Canadian right now under par. Corey Connors over. Mackenzie Hughes, this is his course. I think he was 7 over today. That's not good. Best bets coming up on the 2 hockey games tonight. We got NBA games. The Jays played this afternoon. They lost, so they dropped 2 or 3 to the Rays. Back under 500. Tigers in town starting tomorrow. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I get a 3-gamer tonight. I'm on the Thunder to close out Denver. They are favored tonight in Denver. I like Carolina money line, and I'm on the Jets tonight. I'm on Winnipeg to push it to 6. That 3-game parlay paying plus 330. Today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel. From puck drop to the final horn, every Stanley Cup playoff game is available on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 19 plus, physically located in Ontario. So tomorrow we turn the page. We talk about Game 6, Leafs Panthers. Jays
Difficult
Tigers.
to be positive. I know I said I wanted to get to a point where we're going to be positive, and I was going to come up with some little comments or ideas, and you guys were say I believe it or I don't. But if I threw out a stupid segment where it was like, here's one, Auston Matthews and Mitch Marner are the best players on the ice tomorrow night. How could you possibly, even with a straight face, say I'm all in on that?
You can't.
Wow.
You can't, and they don't deserve that. Like they haven't earned that level of expectation.
Listen, we were saying it yesterday.
By going to do it, but
we were saying it yesterday, weren't we? Like they could have this is legacy games.
Could. Yeah, you were hoping they could. We got the answer, didn't we?
Well, yeah. I mean, last night's game was no good. We got to figure out how it's going to look tomorrow night. That's our job, right?
Yep.
Come up with it. Figure out some different storylines.
I'll have a list for you guys tomorrow. I'll put together a list.
Okay.
What do you want, a 3-pack or a 5-pack?
5-pack.
For why the Leafs are going to win tomorrow night.
I want a 5-pack, and I want it at 4:05 p.m.
Okay. I'll give it to you. I'll try my best to keep a straight face on it. It is difficult to do. I mean, let's be clear. And it's, as much as it's about the Leafs, it's about Florida, too.
Yes.
Like, it's more so you look, or not more so, but as equally you look at Florida and just say, man, I don't know how they're going to lose the way that they're playing. Like,
playing well.
They are the real deal Holyfield, man. They are ready to play. And they will be tomorrow. And I was speaking with someone in the room, in their room after the game last night, and he said, no celebration, nothing. Like, no rah-rah, nothing.
Well, they haven't won anything.
Exactly.
Business, right?
Okay, yeah, moving on. We won this game. Game 4 tomorrow night. Let's go.
Yeah.
So that's what you're getting. You're getting a team that will be incredibly dialed in, ready to play, that looks at you like you're weak and you don't want to play, and you got to smack them back, smack them around. We'll see if they've got that in them tomorrow night. Coverage of the PGA Championship on OverDrive brought to you by Subaru. Again, today it's a weird leaderboard, the PGA, man. It's always a funky Ryan Gerard, Luke Donald, Alex Smalley type.
What'd my boy Mikey Block shoot today?
I think he was 4 over. I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think the block party was 4 over.
That's pretty damn good, man.
Yep.
Hanging around.
It is. Yep. Yeah, he's 4 over. Listen, your boy Spieth, who you said was going to win the tournament, 5 over par. No. 5 over. Disaster. Done. Won't make the cut. Mackenzie Hughes, 7 over. Dustin Johnson, 7 over. DJ's done, man.
I think Koepka blew a big number at that joint.
He did. I think he was a 4 over. I think the block party tied him. Your boy Rusty, Russell Henley, 5 over par.
Oh, Rusty, with your size 17 shoes.
Yep. Phil Mickelson, 8 over. Phil
your crooked knees and your 17 shoes.
Yeah. JT battled back. He was really going south. I think he ended 2 over. But listen, there's a lot of guys who are kind of in the middle that are going to be in contention by the end of the weekend. You can bank on that. Day 1. Coverage of the PGA Championship on OverDrive brought to you by Subaru. Hurry into the all-in-one event for great offers and experience all the features that come standard in a Subaru. All right. I will have a 5-pack for you guys tomorrow. All right. Straight-faced, straight-laced, and moving towards puck drop tomorrow night. I think it's an 8 p.m. start tomorrow.
Is it? Yeah.
Thought I read that.
Only game, right?
The only 8 p.m. start. Prime time Friday night, man. Prime time Friday night. Yeah. So we'll get to that tomorrow. Jays Tigers tomorrow. We're going to see what comes of the NBA playoffs, what comes of the Jets game tonight, and the Carolina Hurricanes game tonight. And it should be a fun one. Everything you can find online, you can find on YouTube, you can find podcasted, you can find if you PVR the show. You can do it all. So if you missed anything for whatever reason, you can always find us. We're always out there. TSN.ca, the TSN app, all of it. YouTube, all of it. All right, thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, YouTube. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at...
Game Faces only tomorrow. 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.